A very good evening to you. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Coming up in this evening's edition, Labour consultant says current minimum wage is reflective of the current economic conditions. Government returns to the international market to raise funds from investments through Eurobond issue. And the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, call on financial institutions to support local manufacturing firms to adopt renewable energy. The details on the business agenda for today. These are the headlines. Now we're taking a short break. We'll be right back after this.
Business Live today is brought to you by GCB Bank.
Thanks for staying. Welcome back to Business Live. Now, flag bearer of the new patriotic party, NPP, Nana Akufo-Addo, has underscored the need for the establishment of an industrial fund and an urgent recapitalization of the National Investment Bank as critical to the country's industrialization agenda. This, according to him, is the only way Ghana's economy could be restored. As Ghana prepares for a general election in December, political parties have, among other things, been spelling out their policies towards resuscitating the economy. Speaking at the annual general meeting of the Ghana Employers Association, Nana Akufo-Addo said retooling industry is critical for economic recovery.
Establishing an industrial development fund as an omnibus fund to finance critical industrial support interventions. Recapitalizing and refocusing the operations of the National Investment Bank, NIB, to provide significant financial resources to support industrial development, including retooling and acquisition of new technologies by local industries. Reorienting the focus of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center to attract investments into selected strategic industries, including large-scale anchor industries to serve as growth poles for the Ghanaian economy: petrochemical, iron and steel, cement, integrated aluminum and bauxite, industrial salt, vehicle assembly, manufacturing of machinery, equipment, and machine parts.
Now, on his part, the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papakwesi Indum, says indigenizing the economy would be one of his major policy direction towards economic growth.
Things that we have said a PPP administration will do. One of the first things is to come up with a regulation that no organization funded by the states should buy anything that is imported when that item is produced in Ghana. Straight away. Don't care about WTO. WTO exists. But if you are in Japan and you want to eat American beef, you will pay a higher price for it. WTO exists, but if you go to Korea and you want to ride in a Mercedes-Benz, you will pay a higher price for it. And that is why over 90% of the cars in Korea are made in Korea. Because that's what we will do. And I'm not just talking about rice. I'm not just talking about sugar or anything like that. I am also talking about contracts for construction and those things that take professional competence to do. We're talking about all of those kinds of things. So if we can produce it in Ghana, it will be provided by what is produced in Ghana, plain and simple.
Now, moving on to other stories, some economists say enforcement is key if the increased daily minimum wage is to yield the desired results. Some business operators are concerned the current economic situation makes it challenging for them to implement the increase. But are these concerns justified? George Wiafe has more.
Government yesterday announced an 8% jump in the national daily minimum wage. This should mean that no employer in the country should pay below this amount. But that might not be the situation on the ground, as most workers in the informal sector are being paid far below this amount. So let's do some calculations here. If, for instance, you're being paid 8 Ghana cedi, 80 pesos a day, then your take-home pay could be about 264 Ghana cedis. But it appears there are a lot of workers out there who are taking far below this amount. For labor economist Dr. Bob Watson, he believes that the Labor Department must be resourced to enforce this new daily minimum wage, whilst the workers must also cooperate.
If you are a worker and you are being cheated and you are not able to voice it out, then the regulator will not even be able to know that you are being cheated. And of course, but the bigger responsibility is on the regulator. And here we are talking about the government institution, which the Labor Department are mandated to do the enforcement.
But for some business owners in the formal sector, their concern is the ability to pay, not that they don't want to pay. Alex Frimpong is the executive secretary of the Ghana Employers Association.
For instance, 10% of 8 cedis is 80 pesos, but 10% of maybe 2,000 will be 200 cedis. So looking at percentages, you may think that is small, but if you look at the base for the various enterprises, you realize that the situation is quite different.
Well, for some workers, the adjustments present an opportunity to push for some salary increment when they go to the negotiating table for pay hikes starting next year. But also, what could be the implications of this on government's wage bill starting January 2017? And will government have the necessary revenue to meet this demand? According to the 2016 supplementary budget, the state is setting aside almost 12 billion Ghana cedis to take care of wages and salaries of those workers in the public sector. There are also concerns about the real value of this 8 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos, as the new daily minimum wage starting January 2017.
Meanwhile, Labour consultant Austin Game says the decision taken by the National Tripartite Committee on the new minimum wage reflects current economic conditions. He was throwing more light on the new minimum wage and whether workers could be empowered to demand higher wages in the future.
It was a very useful deliberation between the social partners, and this is what they have agreed to abide by. So I think it's a reflection of the inflation and the actual turnout. They considered that and think that rounding it up, a 10% adjustment would be ideal for this at this point in time. I think whichever way it is an unfair on the part of either party, because a National Tripartite Committee meeting is not for the constitution of one of the social partners. Under normal circumstances, deliberations begin and they form a subcommittee of the National Tripartite Committee. The subcommittee will determine variable things and take a look, especially at the inflation of the past and the projection and the actual. We should have been talking about restoration of between 7.6, 8% thereabout, rounded up normally, taking into consideration other effects or impact of the generality of prices. We normally will round it up, and I think the rounding up brought it to the 10%. So it is the appropriate thing to do at this point in time. Anything that would have been breaking the cycle of the rules as we know it.
Also live on Business Live and moving on, government is in the process of raising $750 million or more from today's Eurobond issue. Government has managed to, government so far is in deliberations about to raise the amount from investors abroad. And currently, George Wiafi, who has been following this particular development, has joined me here in the studio to give us an update. George.
So initially we spoke about the target of being $1 billion,
yes,
but it looks like
the figure or that amount has been firmed up, and looking at the target now is $750 million. And as we speak right now, government is in the process of winding up these engagements with investors. And they've also told us that they're looking at what they would offer to investors is about 9.25% as their returns. Okay. So if, for instance, government is able to close the deal at $750 million at a rate of 9.25, it means that every year we might be paying an interest of almost $69 million to these investors out there. So those are the figures that we are picking up so far from the deal, which is still ongoing and it's about to close very, very soon. Yeah.
Now, so if it gets this deal through, when is it expected to be paid?
I mean, basically, if it's closed today, the necessary transactions or signing will be done. The clearing is done electronically. So government can start receiving the money through the partner banks that are managing this. And we know that Citibank, Bank of America, and Merrill Lynch are leading this whole offer. And these banks might take these monies from the investors and then they move it to government's account in Europe, that's a Euroclear, and then the Bank of Ghana can start drawing from there. What are they going to use these funds for? We understand that part of those funds are going to be used to pay off the debts that are maturing with respect to the 2017 bond that is going to mature, that is next year. Part of it is going to go into some projects that government outlined the 2016 budget, and also pay down the yields on some local bonds that are maturing. So finally the bond is up, closing up very soon, and we'll get you details on whether they've gone beyond the 750 or was less than that.
The reason for which government suspended the deal,
the initial bond last month
ago, about a month ago, was because of the
market conditions.
Exactly.
But if they really settle on that 9.2, that is not bad. Okay. Between 8 and 9 is not bad. If it goes beyond the 9.2 to about 10% and 11, that's where the concern is. Because even at the 9.2%, work it out in monetary terms, that is almost $69 million a year. And you know that, and as I explained to you earlier on, when you go through the budget, every year government is looking at or setting aside about 13 billion Ghana cedis to pay off these debts. And you could know the implications on government budgets and the government expenditure as well.
Finally, before you go, any updates on the IMF review so far?
Well, government is also saying that they believe that they've done what they have to do, and as I would say, all other things being equal, they're hoping that the board should meet by the middle of this month and they'll get the approval, thumbs up on their performance so far.
So we'll get back to you for any updates.
You're right on that one.
Thank you very much, Joy.
Thank you.
That was Welcome back to Business Live. Time now to take a look at what's in store today for the business agenda. Kuku Aban presents the business agenda.
Welcome to the business agenda, and today's agenda focuses on the energy sector, where the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is calling on financial institutions to support the manufacturing sector in particular in adopting renewable energy. This is towards the country's 10% target of renewable energy by the year 2020. Support by the financial institutions, according to Mr. James Asariaje, the president, would go a long way to help them in implementing the policy.
A number of players or businesses are doing well in trying to look at alternative sources like solar. It is gradual because with solar, the sunk cost, which is the initial cost, has always been high. So it is very difficult to say that use 1 million Ghana cedis, to set up your solar source. Elsewhere, some sort of reprieve are given by way of either guarantees or facilities, over medium to long term. Probably the solar system is set up for you and you have to pay it over 3 to 5 years. And these are all options that AGI and other institutions are exploring, such that gradually we would be able to shift away from grid power. And I think it's very worthwhile. We're calling on other financial institutions also to see it beneficial and a business avenue for them to finance such businesses that would want to install solar.
You heard the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, James Asariye. I'm sure you're wondering what response there would be to this call. Well, banking consultant Nana Otue Champon thinks it would be very difficult for banks to finance such projects because, according to him, they are already saddled with huge debts from financing projects in the mining as well as the oil and gas sector. He thinks that companies or banks that are listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange are in a very good position to finance such projects.
It is a good call, but unfortunately, the answer is difficult to come by in the sense that they are looking for medium to long-term financing. Unfortunately, the income sources of the banks in terms of savings are not long-term in this country. Most of them are at best medium, and you cannot use short to medium-term finance to finance long-term projects, and this is where the difficulty is. Already the banks are well involved in the energy sector. If you look at the VRA issue, you look at the projects that they are doing on the oil fields, they are already well stretched. So to ask them for extra finance for the renewable energy, in my view, is a bit of a tall order.
But can't anything be done about it? Banks looking for long-term financing to help these, manufacturing firms in particular, because in the long run, it will benefit the economy, wouldn't it?
And it will benefit the banks as well if they are able to finance it. Usually, you would expect long-term finance to come through the stock exchange. Some of these banks are listed on the stock exchange, so the option is open to them to go there. But with the economy in the state it is now, it's very difficult to even raise funds through the stock exchange because at the end of the day, investors will be looking for some return relative to if they put their monies on bonds like treasury bills. And since the treasury bills are now paying so much, it's very difficult to be able to get equity finance, which they need for long-term projects.
You heard Nana Otue Champon, he's a banking consultant. Do make a date with us next week for another edition of the Business Agenda.
You'll catch a repeat of the Business Agenda tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the Marketplace, right here on your Joy News channel. It's now time for the Business Agenda. Beg your pardon, time for interview of the day. All right, so in interview of the day today, Cocoa Board has warned it will withdraw license of some inactive produce buying companies after this year's crop season expected to end in the next few weeks. This, according to the regulator, is part of measures to weed out companies that are not complying with industry guidelines. Speaking with Joy Business, Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations, James Kofi Kuswati, disclosed the sanctioning process is to begin with an evaluation process in the coming weeks.
When the season ends, what we do is that we evaluate them. Those who perform, we encourage them to go on. We renew their licenses. But those who do not perform, we withdraw their license. It goes before a committee called COSMAC, a Cocoa Sector Marketing Committee. They look at it, and then if your performance was not satisfactory in the previous season, based on the laid down guidelines, we apply the sanctions.
Are we looking at any withdrawal in this year?
Well, to be too mature now, but then I can assure that definitely there will be some companies after the season has ended within the next few weeks. When the season ends, we evaluate them, and those who do not perform will not be given a renewal of their license.
Are we
So you can always be part of this program by sending your comments, suggestions, and questions. Tweet at Joy Business GH is our handle. Facebook, Joy Business is our page. And for more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Many thanks for your company today on Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Wiafe. Thanks for watching and join me again same time tomorrow.